What we are talking about today will give you the power to just make bread dough when you haven't got time to make the actual bread and deal with the rest later on. Save overproofed dough for another time when you don't have time right now. Use time as an advantage to make the best bread of your life and unlock amazing flavour, texture and crispiness from the simplest of bread recipes. Roll it! Hey home bakers, salvaging bread dough from a show or a class has been the part of my job for the past 10 years that's taught me the most about bread making. A few weeks ago in video number 216, I showed you how to fix a bread dough that you think might be too wet or too dry. I had a load of dough left over, so you know what I did with it? I cling filmed it, stashed it in the fridge when I had time to make something with it. Today I'm going to show you what I made with it, how it turned out, and why all this information can be helpful for us as home bakers with so much other stuff to do in the world. Oh my gosh. Cut to the table. It's been 24 hours since stashing my bread dough in the fridge, and it's day 2, of course. This is what it looks like. After carefully removing the cling film, we reveal that it's glossy, so puffy that it's beginning to collapse, and that's okay, by the way, it's fine, more on this later. It's wobbly and it smells amazing. Now, I've got 2 bowls like this, each with 2 loaves worth of yeasted white loaf bread dough inside. That's 1 times the following recipe in each bowl. Magic. As you can see, it's not particularly groundbreaking. Things don't get much simpler than this in the bread making world. I didn't invent bread, okay? I didn't invent it, just is what it is. Flour, water, salt, and yeast, all right? By stashing this simple loaf dough in the fridge after kneading, slowing down the puff, giving it extra time to develop a beautiful depth of flavour, amazing texture, crispy, crunchy crust, as well as a better moistness of the crumb, which results in better keeping quality. But you know all this, don't you? Because you've been here for ages with me. Surely. Click subscribe. It also, as in this example, makes things more practical for me, because on day 1, I didn't have time to finish the bread making process. So I stashed it in the fridge for day 2, and here we are. Now, I do have time to finish the bread making process back to the table. With a little dust on the top and help from my dough scraper, it flows from the bowl upside down, ready for me to divide up and shape. This first bowl, I'm just going to divide into 2 pieces, the 2 stone baked basket boules, round loaves. Yeah. You can use the scales like this to get them exactly the same. Then working around the edge of each, I fold them into smooth balls, rolling back over smooth side up and using the classic cup and turn technique to round them off before popping them into a dusted Banneton baskets. Let's say I don't have time to prove these up and bake them right now. I'm a very busy boy, apparently. These 2 loaves I will stash in the fridge with the intention to bake them on day 3, and we will come back to these later on. Let's get to the second bowl. Now for the second bowl of dough, and this time around let's take a closer look because it's pleasing to see, isn't it? Our dough is delicate now. It's been proven up for 24 hours in the fridge, exactly the same as the first bowl, and so the gas has become too much for the structure to hold. That's why when I take the cover off, I bang on the table like this, it starts to lose that gas and sink down in this very pleasing and satisfying manner. This doesn't mean though that it's over for us, that the dough is dead or whatever. It's just that the puff has got too big for the structure and it can't hold any more gas, and now it's collapsing upon itself. It's still got puff left, it's just cold and weakened. So if your bread dough looks like this, don't get sad and just throw it in the bin. It'll be absolutely fine. Let's say for this one, I have time. I am fortunate to have the luxury of time in which to prove and bake these today. On day 2. And I'm in a stone baking mood. My head is swimming with a vision of batards and baguettes beautifully blooming, no, blossoming, busting open. First I'll divide it in half. 1 half I divide into 2, and that's my 2 batard pieces. The second half I'll divide into 4, and they are my baguettes. This dough, by the way, is come straight out of the fridge, and I used it straight away. And my fridge, by the way, because I just checked it, is rather shockingly 3 to 4 degrees C, which is 37.4 to 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit, which is actually really cold. I had no idea until I just checked it for the purposes of this. You might see people getting big bowls of dough out of the fridge and leaving it on the kitchen side on the countertop. for an hour or so to come somewhat up to room temperature before they carry on. And you can do that if you want to. That way you're taking the chill off before you shape it up, and the proof of the final shaped bread will take less time because it will be warmer. Does that make sense? I didn't take it out ahead of time. I just took it out and shaped it up cold. So my final proof will take longer because it's coming up from cold. Both ways probably take the same amount of time, I imagine. It just falls differently when you are required to do the shaping, and so it's probably down to practicality whichever way you do it. All pieces of the dough are now pre-shaped into balls and rested under a cloth to relax and puff up a little bit. 45 minutes later they are ready to shape. So then I shape them up. Batards first and then baguettes. And I lay them up on couches to rest. I don't have a proper heavy couche cloth because I don't know where I would keep it in my kitchen, to be quite honest, and I also don't feel like it's necessary at home. Instead, I use Bake with Jack proving cloths, dusted with flour with a little pleat in between, and at the moment, you can get the limited edition 10th anniversary Bake with Jack proving cloth available in the shop for a limited time. I drew that. Is that neat? What? Yeah, I mean, didn't draw them all. I drew it once and then gave it to somebody else to make it look better. There's lots of other celebratory things in there too at the moment. Limited dish, like this mug. Go and have a look, but not now. Finish the video first and then go and have a look later. Don't forget. Remember, your dough is cold, so it'll take its sweet time to get nice and puffy. Mine took about 2.5 hours to get to this point that you see here, which you could see as a faff and a long time, but realistically you haven't got to do anything. So you could see it as an opportunity to not be here and go and do something else more useful rather than watching it happen in real time. The turning out of the baguettes and transferring procedure upon the peel is always very pleasing to do and watch. So let's see it, shall we? Since I shot it, we might as well. Carefully turn them out. Back the right way up, for they were once upside down. And lay them gently on the wooden peels, like so. Swish slash with our grignette, slightly more towards the long ways of diagonal, and we're good to load up. I bake these baguettes first and the batards after on a hot stone with plenty of steam. 220 degrees C fan, so that's 475 degrees Fahrenheit, or gas mark 9. 15 to 20 minutes later, they look nice. Let's take a proper look a bit later on. Next, the batards in the same way, out onto the peel. A little dust before you slash is a nice tip to make things look lovely at the end. I've got a nice little tea strainer, kind of really small, tiny doll's house sieve to get an even coating, which is really rather satisfactory to use, I must say. Slash it end to end, slide upon the stone and bake with steam for 30 minutes or so, and you'll get something that looks like this. Yeah, before we skip to day 3 and bake those basket loaves, let's have a look at our results here. Yeah. This is one way you can make things work for you if in fact it does work for you. As a reminder, we made the dough and kneaded it on day 1, and then we stashed it straight into the fridge straight away. 24 hours later, we whip it out, shape it, prove it, and bake it, and that whole process probably took around 3 to 3.5 hours, I reckon, start to finish. Since the dough is cold now and all that time improves the qualities of your bread in terms of texture and flavour. You already knew that. I know that, but don't forget about the ones I got in the fridge. Let's go to day 3. Just quickly before we do, I know earlier I mentioned proving cloths. Throughout this video, you'll be seeing me use cloths of various peels, a grignette and the classic Bake with Jack dough scraper. If you want to use in your kitchen exactly the stuff that I use, you can find it at bakewithjack.co.uk/shop. There's brand new limited edition 10th anniversary stuff in there as well, including the mug, 10th anniversary dough scraper, and the smashing it apron. Go and have a look when you're done with this video, if you want it. It's day 3, and these loaves have been in my very cold fridge, remember? 3 to 4 degrees C, 37.4 to 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit. For 24 hours. That's not to say that your fridge has to be the same as mine. You don't have to twizzle that knob. It's just you know what to expect. You can get away with it in that colder fridge. If it was slightly warmer, you'd probably get away with it too, but your results will be unique to you anyway because that's how bread works. Yes, try it. Now they are puffy, slightly dry on the top, but that's okay, and they are ready to bake. The oven is on, preheated with a stone inside, ready to go. The kettle is boiled. Let's turn out our loaves. Here I am, ready to go with a grignette in hand. And while scoring a nice square on top, it'll only take a few slashes to realise. Time to change my blade, isn't it? Never mind. Push on through regardless. Transfer to the oven and bake. These took around 40 minutes or so and came out really crusty. You'll notice I didn't score the second one. Instead, I baked it upside down because I wanted it to crack naturally down the seam that I made underneath to see what it come out like. And it came out looking okay, didn't it? And while it cools down, I will rant for a little while, if that's okay with you. The time it takes to make bread is often seen as a barrier between us and actually making our bread. After all, there's loads of things for us to do, isn't there? I mean, Elon Musk just changed the name of Twitter to an X. I really must see exactly how many people are cheesed off about it and to what extent. We can't manipulate time, but we can manipulate the temperature so that the actions we need to take in the bread making process fall in a time where we are free and able to do it. Does that make sense? I hope this video helps you to discover your own ways to do it. As a refresher, for these 2 loaves, I made the dough and kneaded it on day 1, stashed it in the fridge. 24 hours later, on day 2, I shaped them into loaves, straight out of the fridge, put them back into the basket, put them straight back into the fridge. Then on day 3, straight out of the fridge and into the oven. Job done. If you get them out of the fridge and feel like they need a little bit extra puff, just leave them on the kitchen side at room temperature while your oven preheats. Give them a little boost, you know? These came out really lovely and really soft. They had this kind of thin and crispy crust on the outside, and the crumbs smelt and tasted amazing too. No doubt, if this wasn't so delicious and I didn't eat it all up straight away completely by accident, we would have discovered that the keeping quality is better. It keeps for longer than a loaf made in 3 hours. But hey, I never found that out, did I? Whoops. This video is kind of an idea I carried on from video 215, I think it was, where I did 2 loaves. Just prove one time instead of doing the double rest to see what would happen. And if you've been on this channel for a while, what I'm talking about here is nothing new, but I hope you got a little bit of something, a little bit of value out of this, seeing the entire process and some ideas of how actually flexible bread making can be if we are clever about temperatures, and how that by experimenting, you might find a way that works exactly for you and you'll be able to make bread, get it into your routine in a less stressful way. You know what I'm saying? I hope. I don't know. Don't forget, if you want bread making, Bake with Jack bits and bobs in your life, or simply something to remember me by, you can take a stop at the Bake with Jack online shop, which ships all over the world. It's bakewithjack.co.uk/shop. And there's special 10th anniversary things in there while stocks last. Thank you very much for being here, as always, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Yeah, let's do it again. It'll be fun. See ya.